I want to do a couple problems concerning circles, but this is where they give us an equation that is not in the form of a standard circle, and we have to use completing the square to determine the center and the radius. So let's review the standard equation of a circle. Looks like this: x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where the center of the circle is hk and the radius is r. Now sometimes they will give you the equation of the circle in this form, and it's very easy to find the center and the radius. But what you will sometimes have is they will give you an equation that looks like this. Now this is still the equation of a circle. However, it's not in the form above. What we're going to do is, I'm going to take this equation, and by completing the square twice for the x and the y, we're going to rearrange this thing and make it look, put it in the form of the standard equation of a circle. So here's how we do that. I gave you the steps in class, so I'm not going to rewrite them, but I will just talk through them. The first step is to take my original equation and write it in the proper order. You put the x's first, any term with an x first, and then the terms with y, and then on the right-hand side, the number. So for this one, x squared minus 4x, now I'm going to leave a gap here, plus now the y's, y squared plus 6y, and I'm leaving another gap here, and the negative 36 has to be moved to the other side, so you add 36 to both sides. So now this is the proper order. Now I'm going to perform my special calculation, first of all for the x's and then for the y's. Remember, the special calculation is that middle coefficient divided by 2, and then you square it. So for the x's, the middle coefficient is 4 divided by 2, and you square it. That's 2 squared, which is 4. For the y, the special calculation, at least that's what I call it, the middle coefficient is 6 divided by 2, and you square it. 3 squared is 9. So those are my two special calculations. Now I'm going to go add them into my equation. So for the x special calculation, I put it right here after the x terms, and since I add 4 on the left-hand side, I have to add 4 to the right-hand side. And now for my y special calculation, I'm going to put it after the two y terms, so plus 9 on the left, which means plus 9 on the right. Now what happens is, the left-hand side I can break up into two trinomials. A trinomial x squared minus 4x plus 4, and then a trinomial y squared plus 6y plus 9. Now these are actually special trinomials. These are called perfect square trinomials. And they always factor the same way. And it's very simple factoring. You always have the parentheses squared. So here for the x's, for x squared minus 4x plus 4. It's always parentheses squared. You take your first term, the x squared, and you simply take the square root of it. What's the square root of x squared? It's just x. Then I go get the last term of my trinomial, and I take the square root of it. What's the square root of 4? It's 2. So it goes right there. And what's the sign in between? It's the sign between the first and second terms. So x squared minus 4x plus 4 factors into x minus 2 quantity squared. And likewise, for this trinomial with the y's, I do the same thing. It's the quantity squared. Take the square root of y squared, which is y. Take the square root of 9, which is 3. And what's the sign? It's the same one as between the y squared and the y term. So that equals, on the right-hand side, I just add these numbers together. 36 plus 4 plus 9 is 49. Now look what I have here. Now this is in the form of the equation of a circle. And I'll just write it here to emphasize that. Here's the standard equation of a circle. So I have now taken this original equation and have rewritten it or rearranged it so that it's in the standard equation of a circle. So therefore now I can say the center of that circle would be 2 minus 3. So the 2 is the h up here, and we have a minus 3 for k. And the radius would be the square root of 49, which is 7. So there, I've been able to determine the center and radius of that circle. All right, let's do one more example. This one, x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 10y plus 37 equals 0. And we're asked, find the center and the radius of that circle. This, once again, is the equation of a circle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put things in the proper order. I'll leave my blank here. Now here are my y's. Y squared minus 10y. And I'll move the number to the right-hand side, so it's negative 37. If I do my special calculation for the x, it's 8 divided by 2 squared. That's 4 squared, so 16 here, plus 16 here. And now for the y, it's 10 divided by 2 squared. That's 5 squared, which is 25 here. And I add 25 here. Now, I factor these two trinomials. For the x, it's x plus square root of 16 is 4, the whole quantity squared. And for the y, it's y minus square root of 25 is 5, the whole thing squared. And the right-hand side, I add these numbers together. Negative 36 plus 16 is negative 21, plus 25 is 4. Now, this is the standard equation of a circle. And the center, which is hk, would be negative 4, 5. And the radius would be the square root of 4, which is 2. So that's how you use completing the square to find the center and radius of a circle.